This comes to us from Grums. He says, Sony claims strong early engagement for Marathon in investor presentation, which when I first saw this, I instantly thought, hold up, that's exactly what Ubisoft did with Assassin's Creed Shadows back in the day, when they were saying, yeah, don't worry, investors, we're seeing a lot of chatter and very strong early engagement. I believe it was the same verbiage, strong early engagement, which literally means absolutely nothing. If people are pissing all over your product, saying that's engagement does not mean they're going to translate into buying your product to piss on it more. Neglects to mention, it's because the internet was calling the game dead because of the massive art theft. If you're not on X, you're not making the best investment decisions. Sony is hoping they aren't. Sony says Bungie's Marathon is already showing strong early engagement as studio gets its innovative and bold shooter ready for release. Bungie's Marathon is targeting a release by March 2026 in fiscal year 25, with Sony saying the game is already seeing strong early engagement. And on IGN, we have Sony admits Marathon feedback has been varied, but insists it will avoid repeating Concord mistakes and commits to launch by end of March 2026. We're going to give the title the optimal chance of success. So supposedly this game is not going to be delayed any further to 2026 in March, and it's going to be great, except for when you head over to Games Radar and they say PlayStation insists Marathon has strong early engagement even after a very public art scandal and divisive playtests. Bungie's first-person shooter is still set to release this fiscal year, according to Sony. Bungie's Marathon reboot is apparently still coming out this year, as PlayStation boasts that its extraction shooter has strong early engagement, which I'm telling you, just like I did with the Ubisoft stuff when I covered that in those videos, it should be illegal. These are things that a company is being obviously obtuse about and confusing with the language that they use to purposefully mislead investors. And if you're purposefully misleading your investors, that is a company I would never, ever, ever want to invest in because I would not trust anything they tell me. Why would I give you my money knowing that you're lying to me about what you're doing? In a new business segment presentation focused on gaming, Sony doubled down on its live service focus with at least 4 in-house studios all in on evergreen online games. And on one slide, Sony makes a comparison between Helldivers 2, which that's one hell of a comparison, to just assume that because Helldivers 2 was successful, that Marathon is somehow going to also be successful. If that was the case, why didn't that work for Concord? You can't do stuff like that. Here's the slide that it's referring to. 3.6 million MAU, multi-award winning with strong and highly engaged player base. Helldivers 2. That was fiscal year 2024 achievement. Fiscal year 2025 focus. Marathon. Strong early engagement for Bungie's bold and innovative new title. They are lying to investors. And there's so much money being thrown around right now. And these investors do not play games. They don't research shit. They don't understand the sentiment of the market. They're just like, oh, okay, numbers talk. 3.6 million, Helldivers 2. Marathon is probably going to hit that too or more because early engagement is strong. But again, where was the slide for Concord? It's almost like Sony forgot that one. It's curious. That's curious. Positioning Marathon as this year's Helldivers 2 would make sense. They're both big, premium sci-fi shooters from the same publisher, except for the fact that Bungie's facing an uphill battle this time around. Just last month, it was found that Marathon's already divisive playtests, thanks PC Gamer, featured several designs and artwork from indie artist Anti-Real. To avoid any legal trouble, the studio almost immediately began reviewing all of the assets in the game, which I don't know if they can necessarily avoid any legal trouble because they still did this without the authorization of the original artist. And it could be argued that even if things get changed, that nothing was paid to this person, that there was attention brought to the title, that just by changing it does not mean anything right now. They stole the artwork. They stole the artwork straight up. Again, multiple times, Bungie has been caught doing this. It's come to our attention that the artists worked on Marathon in early stages of pre-production, took a number of graphic elements from a graphic designer without permission or acknowledgement, and placed them on a decal sheet that was then checked in 2020. Art director Joe Cross then said in a slightly awkward dev stream. Slightly awkward? That's like describe a movie badly. The decal sheet included icons and text elements. These elements ended up in our alpha build. There's absolutely no excuse for this oversight, and we're working on and 100% committed to our review process to ensure instances like this don't happen again on Marathon or at Bungie. They said the 5th time in a row after it happened 5 times earlier. Bungie apparently reached out to Anti-Real, though we don't know how that turned out. I would be very curious to see what happened with that interaction. Hopefully Anti-Real is not retarded and didn't just fall for whatever they were trying to say, because this was a lottery ticket that just hit, and Anti-Real needs to turn that lottery ticket in and retire, because Bungie needs to be held out to dry with what they did. That cannot happen. Clear and obvious theft. The iconic FPS developer has since been pretty much radio silent online. The game's official social media account hasn't tweeted anything since that live stream. A report about the company's low morale also raised questions around whether Marathon would even come out this September, though another Sony slide does insist it's still set for release this fiscal year. So this is, like I said, this is the one I was showing you, but this is the slideshow that they're trying to present to investors right now. And it's a bunch of lip service trying to portray that some things were successful, and because those things were successful, everything else they do will also be successful. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. There has been some things that they've done that were great, like Astrobot. I think Ghost of Yotei is going to fail miserably. I genuinely do. I could be wrong, but I think it's not going to draw half the numbers of Ghost of Tsushima, which is going to be crazy if that's the case. Live services and building foundation and strengthening capabilities, Helldivers 2 and Marathon being showcased here. Concluding remarks, expanding audiences, deepening engagement, and enhancing experiences. The Portal, which, by the way, I got nothing but great things to say about the PlayStation Portal. I think that's one of the best things that they've created in a very long time. I know it got shit on by a lot of people. I feel like those people never actually had one, used it, or cared about it. But for the people that do have a Portal, like myself, I swear by it. I could almost argue I play my Portal more than I play my PlayStation 5 on the TV, because my kids are always on the TV. So when I'm going to be playing PlayStation 5 games, I'd rather not be interrupted or moved from the room. I'd rather just be able to play it in my peace. Sony Group leading the way with responsible growth. Oh, here we go. Road to zero and inspiring change, safety and accessibility, community engagement. Wait, is that the WEF? United Nations? Yeah, okay, great. So yeah, this was basically what Sony was pushing forward. They're also talking a lot about the PlayStation 6 and working towards creating a PS6 right now, which is front of mind for them. Here we have live services, build foundation, and strengthen capabilities. Successful games, MLB The Show, Destiny 2, Helldivers 2, and then Marathon, fiscal year 25. Upcoming. They still list Fair Games as upcoming. Even though the studio developer lead has left the company, the founder of the Fair Games company has left, they're still planning on coming out with that game. And that's going to fail pretty bad. Marathon is going to struggle pretty bad. I don't think it's going to be as bad as what some people are saying. It's not going to fail like Concord and completely just be removed. I do feel like Marathon will have some staying power, but I would venture to guess, if I were a betting man, which I am, it's not going to come close to making its money back. I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be a massive flop for them. Same with Fair Games, by the way. But you never know. You never know. But anyways, that's basically all I had to talk about with that one. And I think it's curious how, no matter what, Sony is still lying to their investors with strong early engagement on Marathon. Come on, Sony. How stupid do you think we really are? Sergeant Sapient for the 5. I'm on the boat that if you're an investor and fall for honeyed words instead of looking at the numbers, you'd probably deserve to get ripped off. True. I'd like to think there's some sort of accountability, though, for Sony or for Ubisoft being as deceptive as they are, that there needs to be some sort of backlash to it. You can't just say what you want to lie to investors, because that's not fair to their money. That's basically trying to lie to steal money to people. I'm not a big fan of that.